I will do everything in my power to protect our LGBTQ citizens.
If Caitlyn Jenner were to walk into Trump Tower and want to use the bathroom, you would be fine with her using any bathroom she chooses.
That is correct.
In the future, can transgender women compete in Miss Universe?
Yes.
Make America great again.
Psych!
Resistance.
Congratulations, Ron DeSantis. Mission accomplished. You win.
Whoa, who's that guy at the end? Ron DeSantis then rolled out this ad attacking Donald Trump for being too cozy with the LGBTQ plus community in his past. I think we all pretty much know many of these Republicans don't give a damn about folks that are actually living their lives. They just want to use them for this political hatred that they're pushing for more votes, of course, from hateful voters. That's how this whole thing works. But Ron DeSantis wants to make sure he knows that you guys know he's more hateful than Donald Trump ever was, and he's just a fake hater. He hates other folks, not necessarily gay and trans and bi folks. That's not who he hates. Ron DeSantis is your man. So of course, as this is going through, he was hoping this would land, but who is the audience for this? Pete Buttigieg, of course, transportation secretary, came out and was talking about how disgusting this is. And I think he hit a couple good points. Listen.
You know, I'm gonna choose my words carefully, partly because I'm appearing as secretary, so I can't talk about campaigns. And I'm gonna leave aside the strangeness of trying to prove your manhood by putting up a video that splices images of you in between oiled up shirtless bodybuilders, and just get to the bigger issue that who are you trying to help? Who are you trying to make better off? And what public policy problems do you get up in the morning thinking about how to solve? Don't understand the mentality of somebody who gets up in the morning thinking that he's gonna prove his worth by competing over who can make life hardest for a hard-hit community that is already so vulnerable in America.
Buttigieg trying to be very measured there, but he seems pretty upset about the imagery involved in it, which I think many people probably pointed out as well. I think we cut a little bit of that down. Am I right, you guys? From those oiled up bodybuilders that were interspliced between Ron DeSantis being a badass of hate. Again, this is what he thinks people can vote for him based off of. Donald Trump is not hateful enough towards the LGBTQ plus community. I mean, it is July 3rd now, so it's past Pride Month. The hatred can flow differently, I guess, from whatever they thought was tempered before. But that's the plan here. My question, Jess, does that make sense? Is that gonna work? There's more people responding. I wanna get to you first, though.
Yeah, I love that Buttigieg's response here was, listen, I can't get political, but that guy seems kind of gay. I don't know. It's a funny response from Pete. Totally. He's like, by the way, there's no policy platform as well. And I have to say that too. But he's right. He's right. There's no policy platform being communicated there. You're running for president. Clearly, Trump ran successfully by saying he supports the LGBTQ plus community, because when you're running as a populist, there's always people that have gay family members that are like, yeah, they're people too. Some of them have this perspective of like, well, you're one of the good ones. You're not one of the weird ones. That's the problem. But I think there's been such an intense disinformation campaign about members of the LGBTQ plus community being groomers that now people actually do fall more in DeSantis's camp, but communicating it in like a Gen Z style photo collage that you make in CapCut and post to TikTok is a really interesting political strategy, and I don't know if it's one that's gonna work.
Well, I'm not sure if where did it land, because there's the Ron DeSantis or the DeSantis War Room page that was doing those things. I'm not sure how close he interacts or his people are part of the approval process for that. We know political action committees and stuff do stuff with the assumed not connection through the candidacy. But this is one of those things I'm sure he's okay with seeing, because again, they think they're getting what, a 20-something crowd of folks who maybe hate gay people. But if the 20-something crowd already hates gay folks, they don't need you to convince them of it. I'm sorry, if the 50-something crowd already hates gay folks, they don't need this weird ass ad to get them more on board. He needs to find these divisions with Donald Trump. And when you try to find them, when you marketed yourself as baby Trump, it's really, really hard to separate yourself from it. And you'll find yourself then grasping at anything you can to hate on him and separate yourself further. And now you got people like you mentioned, one of the good ones in their minds, the log cabin Republicans. They went on a bit of a Twitter thread to talk about this. Let's go to some of their responses about Ron DeSantis' ad here. It's the first part of this thread. They said today's message from the DeSantis campaign war room is divisive and it's also desperate. Wow. That's odd. Then they also said Republicans and other common sense conservatives know Ron DeSantis has alienated swing state and younger voters. So they're keying on the fact that he's looking for these younger voters, maybe in some swing state voters. But why would swing state voters suddenly be overwhelmingly on board of hatred towards LGBTQ plus community when the problem is you have what I assume is a 50-50 split, and you get liberal, progressive thinking folks within swing states, is also conservative ones. So it's a hard thing to really pull off. So you go hardcore hatred. I don't know if that's gonna work either. Maybe the log cabin Republicans don't know what they're talking about. Here's more evidence of it, because Imposter tweeted some of the things and broke down a little bit more of this thread. And one of the main things they were talking about was this. This is really gonna stand out, you guys. Let's look at this next two graphics. The second one that breaks down what the log cabin Republicans were saying. It said that log cabin Republicans, which is a conservative group that advocates for gay rights, said Republicans need to stand up against, quote, radical left gays. That's part of their thread. And DeSantis went too far. Radical left gays. So there's a difference between left gays and these right gays. Because again, I guess the problem they have with gay folks isn't that they're attracted to the same sex. It's that they're politically left or right. I don't know. Let's let it continue. DeSantis and his team can't tell the difference between common sense gays and the radical left gays, is what the group said in a tweet late on Friday, saying the presidential hopeful, quote, has just ventured into homophobic territory. He just now ventured into homophobic territory? Just now? Just now, the Republican Party and Ron DeSantis has now leaned into homophobic territory. Not when they've been bitching and complaining about bathrooms, about the 4 or 5 trans folks in the country, or I'm sorry, trans girls and women in the country who wanna play sports and they actually care about that stuff. But just now with that ad, and one more part here, David Leatherwood, who I guess is also a conservative and gay, says, I spent the last 7 years of my life working with Trump to make the GOP a more welcoming place for gays. I'd love to see some of those policies, while also being anti-groomer, anti-woke, and pro-religious liberty. Again, I need more breakdown on the differences here. I've worked with DeSantis on this agenda. This ad is a slap in the face and makes any LGBT person supporting DeSantis look like an absolute idiot. Is that how it works, Jess? I'm confused.
How can you be surprised that you align yourself with the party that's made a part of its platform to be very hard on the LGBTQ plus community and to make it so that you can't say gay in schools? You're surprised that Ron DeSantis made this ad, or this came out of a war room that supports Ron DeSantis? Because what Ron DeSantis did was he looked at the political spectrum in the current field and saw that the only real room for him was to the right of Donald Trump. And the consequence of that is now we have him running and making the hate that Donald Trump spread more intense among the base that's hungry for it. That's really the consequence of the Ron DeSantis campaign. And he does it in a way that makes it seem really palatable, so much so that he's gotten a lot of support from people like Elon Musk. But now he's so far to the right that he's pissing off members of the GOP. That's wild. People who have supported Donald Trump and him in the past.
And we know how politics works. They're probably looking at some poll numbers and wondering if he can really do it. And that's really when the opposition comes. They'll support anybody if they think they can win. They don't care. It's a cookie cutter thing. They all have the same horrible, hateful policies towards Americans. It doesn't really matter unless they don't commit to that enough. But once they see where the numbers are going, they're like, oh, let's find a way to jump back with Trump. I don't know if they've gotten there yet, but Ron DeSantis apparently needs to find a way to appeal to those folks.